The melanated world of Africans and Dravidians. Many people believe that when you say melanated people, the Dravidians, the Africans, or Negroes, you're talking about a monolithic group. This is false. Different African and Dravidian populations have originated in Africa over the past 200,000 years. These populations range from the Proto-Australians or Veddoid people to the Pygmies. In this video, we discuss the melanated anatomically modern Africans or Negro populations that arose in Africa and migrated into Eurasia and the Americas. I have also written a book on these melanated populations. The name of this book is A Short History of Black People in Ancient Times. A Short History of Black People in Ancient Times provides a history of the numerous Dravidian, Black, and African civilizations that existed between 60,000 BC and 1492 AD in the Americas and Eurasia. In this book, you will learn about the phylogeography of African people, Dravidian people, and the four out-of-Africa events beginning 60,000 years ago. It explains how the migration of the Cushites out of the Proto-Sahara led to the rise of the river valley civilizations of Egypt, India, and Mesopotamia, and the Black Dravidian African populations who founded civilizations in the Americas and Southeast Asia. A Short History of Black People in Ancient America has an easy index that will allow you to look up and find the various ancient Black civilizations. I hope you will buy this book and enjoy this video.
A Short History of Black People. Europeans have taught you a false history of Asia, Africa, and the world. The whole idea that African people only left Africa 60,000 years ago is a myth. It is just like the myth that all Negroes look alike. African people come in various shapes and sizes. All African people do not look alike. Because we do not look alike, we have spread culture in many different lands, you see. But what you learn in school is that the first population to leave Africa left Africa around 60,000 years ago. They never tell you how these people look. What we're going to do in this film is look back and review this ancient history of black people. The first population to leave Africa was the Australians. They represent the population who participated in the first out-of-Africa event. The archaic nature of the Australian population led to this population having different features from other African groups, but they are still Negroes. They have wide noses, large brows, and they also have straight hair. African people, on the other hand, are also Negroid, but they don't have straight hair like Australians. The Australian and African type, while both individuals are described as Negroes, you will note that the forehead of the Australian matches in many ways the cranium of earlier hominid forms dating back to the rise of Homo sapiens sapiens in Africa. Any physical anthropologist would note these changes, but few people, in a sense, discuss it. The second people to leave Africa were the Sand people, the Bushman people. The Sand people, or the Bushman people, had a very important role in civilization. In fact, when you look at the Bushman people, you begin to see that these people have made an important contribution to the world. These people, in a sense, are recognized as the second group to leave Africa. The Khoisan people probably represent the second African migration of Homo sapiens out of Africa. I would class these people with the Cro-Magnon and Grimaldi people of Europe. The Cro-Magnon of Grimaldi people, or Sand people, they entered Iberia around 34,000 years ago, and from there migrated across Africa into Europe, Iberia, on into Eastern Europe, and into Asia. The second group to leave Africa was the Anu people. These Anu people, or black pygmy type, may represent the Natufians who began to migrate out of Africa after 20,000 years and settled in the Levant, which was first settled by Cro-Magnon people, who early replaced the Neanderthal folk. It is these pygmies or Natufians who represent the fourth African migration out of Africa into Eurasia. The Anu people built a fantastic civilization. The Anu people, they were the first people to build the civilizations in Egypt and Mesopotamia. These people built the ziggurats. They also built the Great Sphinx. The Pygmy people also entered Anatolia, where they ran into the classical Mongoloid people, who are the ancestors of the Indonesians, Vietnamese, and Filipinos, and etc. The classical Mongoloid people were probably the first people to settle in Anatolia. It's very interesting when we began to look at the classical Mongoloid people. We see that the classical Mongoloid people interacted with the Sumerians, and they also interacted with other groups. But basically, in a sense, they were the people who first built civilizations in many parts of Asia. The most important people to leave Africa were the Kushite people. The Kushite people left Africa sometime between 3000 and 2500 BC. These Kushite people, when they left Africa, they began to develop civilizations throughout Asia and Europe. They came in contact with the Mongoloid people, but the Mongoloid people only entered into the area much later. We find that the Kushite people built the ancient civilizations of, in China and also Mesopotamia. These Kushites were the Sumerians, the Elamites, the Shia, and they also founded the Indus Valley civilization. These people originated in the highland regions of Middle Africa. The Kushites began to occupy former trade centers of the Anu in Eurasia and the Americas. The reason that the Kushites began to occupy Anu areas in Mesopotamia, Egypt, and elsewhere was because of the Great Flood. This Great Flood led to a disappearance of many civilizations after 3000 BC. The first people to come in contact with the Kushites were the Mongoloid people. The Mongoloid people successfully were able to take control of China away from the ancient Kushite people, and these Mongoloid people founded the first Mongoloid civilization in China, the civilization of the Zhao dynasty. Given this fact, we begin in a sense to see a slow migration or a push out of first Asia and then out of Central Asia into Europe and the Middle East. This second migration out of Central Asia was led by Indo-European speaking people who now dominate the world. The first expansion of these Indo-European people were the Sea people. So again, let me summarize. The first people to leave Africa were the Australians 60,000 years ago. By 35,000 years ago, we began to see the Grimaldi or the Khoisan people leave Africa and settle Eurasia. By 20,000 BC, we began to see a new group that began to migrate into Asia, and this were the Pygmy people. And the Pygmy people founded the first civilizations in Mesopotamia and Egypt. And then finally, we have the Kushites, the great Kushite hordes that controlled and ruled the world for 7,000 years, according to the Puranas of the ancient Indians. This is a short history of the black world.